I have a dirty little secret that I don't like admitting. Before I survived a toxic relationship, I used to harshly judge those who found themselves in an abusive situation. Why would anyone tolerate name-calling, insults, living with a hypercritical person who's wearing them down and out? Why stay after finding out about the cheating or repeated job losses? And then there's the physical abuse. Who would let anyone treat them that way? Take this clip from the TV series Greenleaf. I used to wonder, why would victims like Zora tolerate the emotional and then physical abuse?
So what? So how are we ever supposed to spend time with each other? I'm just supposed to hold your hand now?
Would that be so bad?
Yeah. No, but some. And it's like we 12 years old.
Sorry.
You should be.
Stop making a scene. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Why you always bugging?
I'm not. Just don't.
Maybe you too have stifled eye rolls or long sighs of disbelief or bit back critical comments when you hear stories like these too. Perhaps you resisted telling someone in this situation, "I told you so," or "Are you surprised?" or "Why don't you just leave?" Or maybe you just described your situation and you're wondering these things about yourself. If these thoughts have crossed your mind, then I'm going to explain another reason why victims can't leave toxic relationships. And it's this quality that kept me trapped for much too long in my last relationship. It's what Sandra L. Brown calls the super trait of conscientiousness. Before we get into conscientiousness, I want to review, though, the cognitive dissonance aspect that creates the confusion, and then talk about how conscientiousness can add to the confusion to keep us stuck. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Toxic Love, where each week we're deconstructing a pathological love relationship from start to finish. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Kerry Kerr McAvoy, a licensed mental health clinician. So if you've been following this series, then you've heard me talk about chronic and persistent cognitive dissonance. We discussed it in episode 10 called Is It Me or You? And again in episode 14 called Feeling Dazed and Confused. So just to review, it's what some people do by creating a dual reality. They become both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Just like this story, this person has two sides to themselves, and their victims come to learn how to exist with both, the bad reality of Mr. Hyde, as well as the good one with Dr. Jekyll. They tolerate Mr. Hyde, believing him to be an aberration, and hope things will return to normal with more of Dr. Jekyll. But narcissistic and toxic people's Mr. Hyde persona doesn't exist because this person's drunk a potion, and it's not because they are sick or have trauma. It's actually manufactured to keep you from knowing the truth, because if you were to learn what's really going on, you wouldn't have stuck around. Because who wants to live with someone disloyal or breaks promises or constantly lies? Someone who can't hold a job, whose financial life is in disarray, or is a serial cheater. But Dr. Jekyll is the false persona, not Mr. Hyde. In the movie, Not Without My Daughter, which is the true story of Betty Mahmoudi's and her daughter's escape from the abusive husband while living in Iran, there's a scene in which Betty's confronted with the truth that her husband has been deceiving her.
You lied to me. You held the Koran and you swore to me that nothing was going to happen.
Mommy?
You were planning this all the time. You lied to me.
Mommy, aren't we going home today?
Yes, we are, honey. I want you to go downstairs and I want you to say goodbye to everybody. Guilty they make you feel. I know the kind of pressure they're putting on you. I know you want to spend some time here. I promise you we'll come back. We'll spend time here. But we can't stay here. This is a backward, primitive country. I won't live here. I won't bring up my daughter here. How can you even consider raising Mahtab here? Don't you see how they treat women?
I know it's the right decision if you just give it a chance. For all of us, for you and for Mahtab.
No, Moody, you can't.
I'm a highly qualified doctor. They're desperate for doctors in Iran. I could do a lot of good here.
Please.
Besides, I'm a Muslim. This is where I should be. This is where my family should be. Look, I know it seems harsh, but it's the best thing for all of us. Mahtab could learn real values here.
No, I won't stay here. You can't keep me.
Now, you listen to me. You're in my country now. You're my wife. You do as I say.
Notice that she indicates that she recognized all the signs of deception but failed to make the connection. That's a great example of cognitive dissonance. But that's not the only reason why victims can't leave. There's another powerful motivator that's at work too, and it's the super trait that I referred to earlier called conscientiousness. Now, conscientiousness is a quality that's hardwired into every person's personality, and you can find out if this describes you by taking the Big 5 personality test. I've included the link of the assessment in the notes below. Toxic people's brain is highly sophisticated, and they hunt like predators on the lookout for easy prey. And one of the qualities they're looking for is someone with a high degree of conscientiousness. Remember that earlier scene of Greenleaf when Zora's boyfriend becomes abusive? Notice how she protects him when her family confronts her.
Did Isaiah hit you?
Wait, what?
Are these
No, I got hit by a door. I got hit by a door.
Sophia just told us Isaiah hit you.
You what? Sora, please.
Hey, answer me.
He did not hit me.
Answer.
Please.
What are these bruises?
Little boy, did you put your hands on my daughter?
Man, I don't know what you're
Dad,
talking about.
Please, stop.
What you talking about,
Listen to me.
man?
I mean, he did not
Did
touch me.
he
He did not
hit you?
touch me. No.
Did he hit you?
No.
Yo, I didn't do nothing, bruh.
What? Jacob! Don't do that! How could you? I said I was fine. Sora. Don't follow me.
It's her conscientiousness that's in play. Conscientiousness describes someone who's goal-directed, persistent, loyal, disciplined. They're someone who makes good decisions, someone diligent and thoughtful, not impulsive. They're what you would describe as a controlled individual. Life likes to reward that kind of behavior, because if you're in school and you study hard and put in the work, you're going to get good grades. And if you do the same at work, generally you get promoted. Conscientious people easily master new skills, and they're someone that you can count on because they've learned that with a little sweat and effort that most things are achievable. And they're good at delaying gratification to get ahead, and they've learned to trust themselves to achieve success. Now, notice that all these qualities are the direct opposite that you would use to describe a toxic person. Because emotionally immature and narcissistic people tend to give up when they get bored. They like to find shortcuts and do things impulsively or cut corners. They're unreliable, break promises, and they usually have a series of failed relationships or a series of job losses. So if you think about it, conscientious people are the perfect antidote to what's going wrong for narcissist and toxic people. Because if you can convince a conscientious person that that toxic person's bad history or bad life is because of a terrible circumstances, is because of a sob story, then the conscientious person's innate qualities can be leveraged to the narcissist advantage. The conscientious person's strong commitment to a cause can be twisted and used for the narcissist's betterment. And the conscientious person's can-do attitude and determination can be used to convince them to stick out a failing relationship. All the lovely qualities of conscientiousness can be twisted to keep the victim off balance, yet over-committed. Now, a new story can be sold. Instead of the toxic person's bad behavior as the cause for the relationship going wrong, it's because the victim hasn't tried hard enough. It's not because the toxic person's impulsivity that there's so much chaos. It's because the conscientious partner hasn't been doing enough or hasn't rescued them enough. The conscientious person's highly responsible nature, tendency to be long-suffering, and innate belief that anything can be done with just enough effort is weaponized and used against them. Take my story. In the middle of that last marriage, I found out that my ex hadn't paid 3 years of back taxes. He said he forgot, that somehow that tax deadline escaped him despite getting in the mail the report of his yearly earnings. He felt entitled that his monthly contributions towards his mother living expenses should count as a charitable contribution. Yeah, I know, that's not a thing in the United States. So for 3 years, he ignored the bill. I was horrified when I found out, because the IRS isn't an agency you want to mess around with.
Now, you may only see a pile of receipts, but I see a story.
And I knew there would be penalties and compounding interest, causing what would be a little bill in the beginning to become mountainous. But he acted nonchalant, like,
No big deal.
but I was in a panic. My conscientious nature had been activated. And you guessed it, I hired an accountant to file his returns at a great expense. But she gave me really good advice at the end and told me not to pay what he owed, to see that it was his bill, not mine, since I wasn't married to him at that time. And so I didn't, and shortly later we divorced. I remember in the midst of all that feeling like that I had to keep bailing him out after one bad situation after another. And looking back, I suspect he counted on that. And what's even worse, I bet he knew that I wouldn't leave until he was ready for our relationship to be over. That's how much my conscientiousness kept me stuck. Is that what's keeping you trapped too? Find out by taking the Big 5 personality inventory and see if you're also a conscientious person. And if it does describe you, here's a few things that you can do. First, and I cannot stress this one enough, watch what someone does and ignore what they say, because behavior is the best indicator of the truth. If their actions don't line up with what they're telling you, listen to what they do and ignore what they're saying. Number 2, remind yourself you are not responsible for another person's actions, even a loved one or a partner's. I know this is hard because none of us like to see other people suffer, but you didn't create the mess that they've made out of their life. They did that all on their own. And pain is always the best teacher. We don't help someone when we save them from pain. Number 3, create a new boundary for yourself that your hard work will no longer benefit anyone but yourself. It's one thing if people want to team up with you around an endeavor, but everyone must pull their own weight or they don't make the cut. Stop making up for other people's slacking off. Your time, energy, health, love, and money are just as valuable as everybody else's. Remember to hold on to that truth by respecting this about yourself. And number 4, if you're in a toxic relationship, start working on an exit plan. Next week, I'm going to go into greater detail how to do that safely. But maybe today is the day to open a bank account or figure out a budget if you were to live on your own or with your kids. Maybe you should consider how you can start to support yourself and your family. Or maybe it's time to schedule an appointment to see an attorney so that you know your legal rights. But we're going to get into more of that next week. I know this has been a tough topic, but it's an important one. And if it's been helpful, please consider liking this episode, subscribing to this channel, and turning on notifications so that you don't miss my next video. And check out last week's when I discuss what makes us the narcissist's perfect target. Hey, big hugs. Stay strong and safe.